What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 66 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Only 3 away, gentlemen.
Oh my God, what do you plan for the?
I don't have anything. I do.
6-9?
I emailed myself because that's my new to-do list. Is I email myself
yourself.
So then I can knock it off and delete as I go.
Oh, that's interesting.
It keeps me good because I always try to zero out the inbox.
Sure.
So I'm not successful at it.
No.
But it's a good way to remind myself of the things I have to do. So plan Gamescast 69 is an email I just sent to myself today.
Gotcha.
What are we going to do? Probably nothing.
Talk about games.
If anyone has ideas, please send it to us and we'll adjust accordingly, but probably not.
I like your jacket. I like your outfit.
I like it a lot. I wish that said 69, but it doesn't. Just says 20.
Damn well. Yeah, I mean, you could technically go and get those removed, I guess, and put them in thank you, Kevin.
That's too much work. But
no, that's stitched in. You can't get there.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Thank you.
Damn. Thanks, Kevin. You're all great.
Really worried about this table getting rings.
I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the coolest dudes in video games, Colin Moriarty, and one Greg Miller.
Hello.
In a Funhouse shirt.
Yeah.
It looks like Fallout.
It does. See, did you get it? That's the whole thing.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
It was a good thing. They did it. This is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Every week we get together, talk about video games, and then you can get all of that video content over on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames Monday through Thursday. There'll be a topic there for your needs. Then you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, get the whole thing early, or do a bunch of other stuff. Just like Steven Insler did. Steven Insler, Patreon producer of the month.
Oh, thank you, Steven.
Should have had it ready. Didn't. I will next week.
No,
It'll be great.
You won't.
We'll throw a party for
You
him.
can't even plan episode 69. You're not going to have no horn ready.
Maybe that's, you know what? Forget it. We'll get there someday and it's going to be great. Steven Insler, he went to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, supported the show to help make it happen. So he's the Patreon producer. But yeah, you can go there and for way less money, you can just get the show early, get exclusive episodes, do all that other stuff.
Perks.
Good
things.
So many perks. All the good perks. But today, we got a really good show planned. I'm excited about this.
Is this worth $1?
This one will be worth $1.
Okay.
Let me tell you why, Greg. This one's going to be worth $1 because we're finally getting to the point where video games are coming out this year. You know, there's been a couple months of just us bullshitting over and over.
Trying to find
about VR. Talking about all this shit.
Yeah.
Now here, we're actually playing some games. So we had a lot of games to talk about that we've been playing. Usually I'd start the show off with a what have we been playing topic, but because we played a good amount of a couple games, I want to start with those. Third topic is going to be what we're playing there.
Gotcha.
First topic is going to be Ratchet and Clank. Second topic is going to be Quantum Break. So that's a little preview.
Wow.
For y'all bitch
Fourth
asses.
topic, who knows?
Yeah.
Impossible to guess.
Probably brought to you by the Kind of Funny
to
forums.
guess.
Anyways, all right, let's start off Ratchet and Clank. Greg, have you played it?
No. Well, the Let's Play you and I did, but then you both have been heads down in it. Colin's beaten it. You have
Almost beaten it. Not beaten it yet. Fucking fantastic game. Colin, tell the people.
It's fantastic. It's a fantastic game. It's I kind of went on a little thing on PS I Love You this week about so people listened to it I guess last week by the time they hear this for the most part. It's surprisingly and shockingly awesome. I knew it was going to be great or good at least. I mean, it's a Ratchet and Clank game that the core Ratchet and Clank games are at least at the very least good, with the exception of the tower defense shit and the all for one. Like no one wanted that kind of stuff. But this is a return to form for Ratchet, and it's I said with the exception of Resogun, the best exclusive on the console. And it's shocking to me that. This reminds me a lot of Until Dawn in the sense that did they not understand what they had? Like I don't understand how this game isn't being pushed harder. They have a movie that I guess they're hoping is going to kind of tangentially promote the game. The game will tangentially promote the movie. I understand that kind of like synergy that they're trying to get between the two products, but this game is so much better than some of the other stuff that they've released, like The Order or even Infamous or Knack. That it's like, why wouldn't you try to get behind this game and really push it? And the good news is that. The word is out. I mean, I've been hearing a lot of anecdotal evidence that they way undershipped. It seemed like because no one can find it. And
digital bros.
Yeah, you can buy it digitally, of course, unlimited amounts. But I've heard from like a lot of people on Twitter, just anecdotally, that it's hard to find. Like that they've gone to every Best Buy, they've gone here and there to EB or whatever the fuck they buy games at now, and they can't find it. So it seems like Sony might have underestimated demand for the game. But I think that it's a really fantastic, fun, funny, cute, well-made, beautiful game. With very little downside. There's a few frustrating parts and a few kind of issues like that, but technically it's great, runs great, no crashes in the 12 to 13 or 14 hours I played it.
No crashes is the only problem for me.
No crash, no
Dramatic.
proper noun. And I think that it reminds me of a different time in gaming. And I feel like these kinds of games can't live again, but I think that they can live again once in a while. And I think that this is a really nice, if they're made right. And I think this is a really nice example of that. And the other example I used on PS I Love You was Sly 4 from Zanzara, which I think is another example of a great old school game made new again that we might not really need every year, but like, my assumption with this Ratchet game is that it was probably cheap to make. Insomniac made it, and it seems like their satellite studio in North Carolina really did the brunt of the work. So, and they're only charging $40 for it, which is shocking.
That's the crazy part. But I think that that's an investment on their part. I think that they understand that Ratchet kind of stayed as welcome for the last decade or whatever, and or 2 decades almost. And now that the movie's coming out, it is kind of the resurgence, it is the reboot, and it's kind of getting in front of a whole new generation of people. And I think that the $40 price point, I think it's smart because it's gonna, people are gonna see the movie and they're gonna be like, well, shit, I need to get the kids this.
I think it works both ways, right? And the fact that I'm a guy who's like, Ratchet's great. I loved Crack in Time. You know what I mean? But I haven't been aching for more Ratchet. So when another Ratchet's coming, all right. But now it's out and everybody loves it. And it's getting these great scores and it's cheap. Okay. And then when the movie does roll around, people leave that theater and they're like, oh man, Ratchet's cool. I'm gonna look. It's only $40. Sure, why not?
And I think the biggest thing with the price point is for the people that have played Ratchet over the last hell long, where they know what they're getting. And my thing is, I think this game is as close to a perfect game as possible, where I am having so much fun with it. I keep thinking about it. I want to come back to it. Its gameplay loop is awesome. I'm addicted to making sure that every single weapon's upgraded, and the system they have with the grid, where you kind of click the cards and the grid thing, all of it. It's like, I like this. I want more of this. But the game, since it is a remake or whatever it is, reimagining of the first game, it's a bit familiar, and it's also a bit empty overall compared to a Crack in Time or even Tools of Destruction. Those had a lot more going on. Like specifically Crack in Time had that big like war sequence where there was like so many people and you have to use all of the gadgets and weapons and stuff. This game doesn't have that, and I think it's obviously because it's just remaking the first one. So I think that is kind of where the price point comes in too, in that it's for the hardcore Ratchet fans, it is a little bit of a concession with all of it, but it's amazing. Like, it's so good and it's so much fun. And I think that this is a good sign that the next one, built from the ground up, being an old original game, I think that's going to be something really special.
Yeah, I wonder if they painted themselves in a corner a little bit with the price point, and they have something to fear, I think, if they go back to Ratchet and Clank again, which I think they obviously would and should. Is the precedent now that this is going to be like a subpar A game that, at a price point that's going to be, can they go back and charge $60 for a Ratchet and Clank game now? It's like one of the things they have to worry about later. They don't have to worry about that now. But I think that it is a reimagining in some respect of the original game, but there are a lot of differences. There are a lot of things that are the same too. I mean, but there's new systems, and I liked going back to these different planets that I hadn't seen in a long time. But I remember this sequence. Mm-hmm. I can't remember the planet's name, but the one sequence where it's like the kingdom kind of, and there's like the river flowing through it. It's like early in the game. The
second stage.
Yeah, and like right. and you see it on the vista, and like you go down the elevator and stuff. And I'm like, I remember this, and it looks so much prettier now. And
I think the cool part of the visuals of it are that, I mean, if you look at this game, it is one of the most gorgeous games ever made that I've seen for any console,
and
PC
its style,
or otherwise.
Yeah, it's definitely,
and all of that, right? It's just, it nails it. But what's crazy to me is you remember what Ratchet and Clank looked like. Like, I remember what I thought when I first saw the PS2 one, and I remember thinking this looks like a Pixar thing. And it's like, now you look at it like, But now you look at this and you're like, this actually does. And that's the crazy part. But what's even crazier to me is this game looks better than I remember Ratchet looking. Usually it's you remember things looking super good, and when you see a new one, you're like, oh, this is kind of how I remember it. For me, this is even better than my memory, and that's the biggest accomplishment you can do.
Yeah, I think the interesting things to me are, and I don't remember the story very well anymore, but I remember, as I discussed, I think on the podcast, the other podcast, which was Ratchet and Clank didn't like each other, and that was like one of the super uncomfortable things I remember in the first. I think it might have just been in the first game.
Yeah, it was.
And I know that I feel like when I was talking to them about history of Insomniac years ago, when I was writing that at IGN, that they were talking about how they knew that wasn't necessarily something that maybe was the smartest idea, and they've totally removed it. Like it's funny how they've kind of revised the story. It's through a different perspective now. I don't with Quark kind of telling the story, and Ratchet and Clank are just quick friends, and it seems like the story's not as fleshed out anymore. because there's no strife between them. And I like that. Like I always was like, why don't they like each other? Like this is like one of the things, it's Ratchet and Clank, not Ratchet versus Clank. And so I like that they kind of revised that. The pre-rendered cutscenes, there actually is like a lot of pre-rendered cutscenes in the game, are really pretty. The new boss fights are cool. They even like revised a lot of things in the game, like collecting the brains and all this kind of stuff, like to kind of add things into the game. And then the back end structure, which I think you're right about, with collecting rare titanium, obviously, to upgrade your weapons, plus the leveling system of each weapon, which natively upgrades them, and then the collectible card system. The challenge mode has been stripped out of the game and kind of put into
the main line, the main game itself, right? The campaign,
right? Exactly. Like in the original Ratchet games, there was like a challenge mode that was like in the back of the game that you can like do this and you get like a point or whatever. That like isn't an option the first time through anymore, and it seems like I haven't even played it through again. I want to, because I want to get some of the trophies and stuff, but it seems like they've kind of stripped that out and put that into the next part of the game, like if you play it again. So while it's not a difficult game by any stretch of the imagination, like the times I died in the game was because I was like trying to use weapons that I shouldn't be using because I wanted to upgrade them equally. I mean, that was like my obsession the entire time I was playing the game.
And it's fun.
Yeah,
dying is fun in this game.
Yeah, because there's no penalty, and you can ratchet it up to hard if you want to have a harder experience. But to me, it's Ratchet and Clank on PS4 is almost like a must play game. I thought I would like it. I knew I would like it. I like Ratchet. I like Insomniac. But I didn't realize I'd love it like this. And so I really highly recommend it. I would go as far as to say it's the best game I've played this year, and maybe the best game I've played in a long time. So
I agree with you completely. And I think that it modernized the franchise in such an important way. And again, like the Future series on PS3, so when it was Tools of Destruction and Crack in Time, those also modernized it a lot. So it's not like this is like a completely mind-blowing thing. But being able to hit the L2 button and do the strafing and stuff, you couldn't do that in the first Ratchet. And it's like that makes it changes the dynamics of it a lot. And I thought it's a lot of fun to use the weapons, and it makes shooting and stuff a lot easier. And it's less old school 3D platformer, and it is more modern third person shooter and stuff. Like they really kind of mastered that with Deadlocked on the PS2 generation. And I love that. It wasn't until you brought up the Ratchet and Clank not liking each other thing, I didn't even remember that. But then I was like, oh shit, that's right. Like it was really awkward.
Yeah, the story was weird. Like it wasn't like Jak and Daxter where they were friends. They had a history already. Like you were kind of jumping into their life. Like you meet Ratchet when he's meeting Clank, so they could go anywhere with it that they wanted to. And I like that they revised that, because I think that it almost wasn't kid friendly in a way. Like it was like awkward and weird, and I didn't like it. I remember not liking it, and I remember being kind of put off by it. Not Ratchet's I like Ratchet as a character more than I like Clank as a character, but I wanted them to get along together. And I don't want to underestimate the humor in the game either. It was the first time since I played South Park: A Stick of Truth where I was like laughing out loud at things in the game. Like there's just a lot of funny shit in the game. I remember there's just like really weird scenes, like after Ratchet gets back from like something really bad that's happening, he's talking to Clank in the garage, and he's like it's such a catastrophe or whatever. And Clank's like, I wouldn't call it a catastrophe. And then there's like a TV in the office with a guy watching it, and the newscast is talking about how it's a catastrophe. And you see the guy just take the remote and like lower the volume on the TV and like kind of look away awkwardly. It's like, there's a lot of really funny shit that they didn't have to do that took probably more time than it needed to have little hits like that. And there's a lot of them in the game. The writing's awesome. Zircon's awesome. Quark's awesome. Like there's a lot of just solid comedy in the game that I think kids and adults alike will laugh at.
That's my question. Does it feel like a kid's game?
I think it does.
It's definitely a kid's game, but it's a Pixar movie. That's the best way to put it. Not only does it look like it, but it's like adults can enjoy it, kids can enjoy it. Is it a kid's movie? I mean, yeah, I guess it is. Is it a kid's game? I guess it is, but like doesn't affect the enjoyment of it.
Sure, I was just asking.
It's a game. That's what I like about it. It's a fucking game. It doesn't take itself seriously. That's like, it's just not this like overwrought.
There's no social message?
Yeah, like after playing The Division, which is a great game, but this is, I think, far better than The Division in terms of just enjoyment. You can't really compare them, but I think I had more fun playing this than I did The Division. It's just like, it's nice to see a game that's not like so like into itself, It's like it's just a game.
Well, it's into itself in a fun way, like all the self-referential stuff about it's a movie based on a game based on all that stuff. It's like, that's great. Like it never goes too far. I'd say it's a very kind of funny game. Like it's not hilarious. It's consistently, it's pretty funny, and that's good. And that's something that the series has always done for me. Like I remember the PS3 ones, like they were making jokes about MySpace and stuff, which at the time made sense. I think this game, you know, it might not be funny in 10 years, but right now it is. And they did take a lot of time to make sure that it was funny for audiences now. And it shows. So
yeah, I recommend it.
You should play it, Greg.
I recommend it.
I want you to play it
Eventually
all.
I will.
Yeah.
Eventually.
It's super fun. And what I'm most interested to see now is that clearly this game's going to do very well. So what does it mean for Ratchet moving forward, and will Insomniac be interested in making another one? And I hope that if they do, that they don't go back to going commando or anything like that, but that they just kind of make a new one.
Yeah,
and
I don't think that they would.
Yeah.
You know, I think that they would have to just make a new sequel that is its own thing based on a second movie. I don't know.
Although I want to be clear that this game isn't the first game. Like it is, but it isn't a beat for beat remake of the first game, and that's what I thought I was getting myself into, which is why I was not that excited about it, because I'd played the first game twice. You know, so it's not the first game. It's the first game kind of. And
yeah, I mean,
think,
I'd say 80%.
Yeah, but I think the beats are different. There are completely new places to go. Like there are new bosses. Like the story's different. So I think that the story's the same but different.
Yeah, I mean, so if anyone watches and reads The Walking Dead, it's very similar to that, where it's like it is the same thing, but it's different enough that it's like you're surprised at moments, and there is things that come out and you're like, oh shit, like you're getting to the same, you know, end goal, but like it's a different ride. Are you excited for the movie at all?
No, not really. I mean, I want to see. I'm interested in how the movie does, because I was kidding around that this movie is so late, like 15 years late. Ratchet and Clank came out in 2002, so it's been out for almost 14 years. And they probably should have done this movie, you know, during the PS2 era, but they're doing it now, and I wonder if this really is going to be an example of a series that was dormant or dying, because I think that Insomniac, not to its own credit because they're a great studio, but Sony and Insomniac together really almost did their best to kill this franchise. And with All for One and with what was the fucking tower defense one? I can't even think of the name of it.
Into the Nexus wasn't bad.
Into the Nexus wasn't bad, but it was a budget short core Ratchet game that seemed like it was made very quickly.
Quest for Booty.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's they just didn't give it the love and care that A Crack in Time in 2009 really gave the series. That was the last time the series got something it deserved. And because Ratchet deserves love and it deserves care. And that's why I was so excited about with Sly 4 with Sanzaru, is that I think that game fits congruently with Sucker Punch's Sly games. So I was excited to see a game that has fine production values and a lot of time and effort put into it. It is beautiful and it is fun and it is finely made. And Insomniac deserves a lot of credit, and Sony deserves a little bit of a shrug in terms of like, why aren't you pushing this harder? You know, it's the same thing with Until Dawn. You push the Order 1886 hard, and you don't push, which that game's garbage compared to this game.
I think
that bothers me. You know, like it's like, come on, like this do this game justice. You have to know that this game's great.
Yeah.
And why aren't we hearing anything about it?
Full frontal assault.
Yeah,
that's your tower defense. And I still think that this is what we were talking about earlier. I think that you get out the game now to appeal to gamers. The game stuff's doing it, and then when the movie comes, that's when there's a real push.
And that is the promotion
in
push.
theaters and on this.
And we were talking maybe 2 months ago about, is this even in theaters? Like we were a little unclear on if it was just a digital only game or if it was movie theaters. We're like, oh shit, it's actually movie theaters.
It's a real thing, yeah.
And then every time we went to see a movie, there's a stand up all the time.
Yeah.
Like for Ratchet and Clank, and it's like, damn, this is
a real thing.
This is a real thing. And I went to see Zootopia, and every single trailer before it was CG talking animals. But Ratchet and Clank was in there, and it was a step above all the other shit I saw. And it's like, I mean, I'm a fucking grown ass man, so you know, all the like 8-year-old kids next to me might not be able to tell the difference, but maybe they can. I don't know. I guarantee you that all the parents that took their kids to see Zootopia, if they were watching all those trailers, if they were going to be like the next movie we're seeing, they would choose Ratchet and Clank.
Nice,
because the trailer definitely the movie looks good, and they have the voice cast plus more and stuff. I think it's great. This is the first shot at a video game movie being good, a distributed video game movie in theaters and stuff, because it's like, I mean, it is the source, you know, they are working on it, and it's like that, as far as I know, hasn't happened before with movies. But anyway, I'm pretty excited for it, and overall for the whole series, like I'm excited to beat the game. I still got more to play. That's great.
The last boss fight I think is a little underwhelming, just in the sense that it's easy, but the game's easy. It's not hard. But that's not why I'm playing. It was nice to just play a very loose kind of just a video game, and not something with like like Greg was saying, like a social message, or it's like so weighted down. It's like, those games are great, and I like playing those games. But it was refreshing to play this game. And
Take a step back to simpler times with Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, I think it's bravo to Insomniac. They really needed something. They make great games, but after Sunset didn't do very well on Xbox One, and Resistance is kind of dormant or dead, and no one really liked Fuse, and it's they've been kind of struggling a little bit there, and I've really been pleasantly surprised that there's still a vast studio that employs like a lot of people, so they seem to be doing well financially, and this should hopefully help buttress them a little bit, and hopefully they get another contract to do the next one, and hopefully it's a sign too that Sony might entrust them to bring back Resistance as well, which I think would be
when the Resistance movie comes along, they'll have to.
Resistance would be a good movie if you did it right.
Falling Skies, Noah Wiley, what up?
So yeah, congratulations to Insomniac, congratulations to Sony. Push this game. I think it deserves to be pushed, and we'll see if this kind of game resonates and if we get more of these games in the future. Because the only other one that I can really think of that's outside of the Nintendo wheelhouse, of course, is Yooka-Laylee, and so that's of like that people give a shit about. So I would reckon that you're going to see some restraint on this because you haven't seen restraint on other trends that I think haven't panned out very well. Like everything's open world, everything's nonlinear, everything's choice based. It's like, all right, well, we get those once in a while.
Speaking of that, in this game, like I have fun in exploring the worlds, like in having all the raritanium and all the random cards and stuff. Like it really gives you a good reason to check every nook and cranny, and the nooks and crannies aren't that far. So it's not too much to handle, and
it feels obtainable.
It feels obtainable, and it's fun. And like this game is fun. That's the most important point I want to get home. And if you are thinking about buying it, do, because it's fun and it's awesome.
Yeah, and there's a lot of depth to it. Even though it's easy, there is a lot of depth to the game, to the systems of the game, replayability, nice trophy list. So
is it hard to platinum it?
No, you have to beat it on challenge mode. You have to kind of find all the gold bolts and stuff. I mean, it's not going to be like a huge deal, but there are a lot of like incidental bronzes that are going to be the most annoying. Like, ride every escalator or whatever without moving and stuff like that. Like that shit's gonna be annoying.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I'm necessarily gonna try to do that, but there are a few trophies I'd like to pick off and go back to and mess with the challenge mode, because I do like how they still have that in there, but it's something you kind of have to unlock as opposed to doing it. Because I don't remember ever. I remember that being available at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Could be wrong, but I don't think that it was locked away.
I think you're right about that.